Right, so wow, yeah, so lots more people coming in now. So we'll give people another 30 seconds, Alina, before we get started. How's your
Perfect.
morning?
Looking forward to this.
Yeah, you had a good
Yeah,
morning.
very good. Very good, thank you. Obviously got a 3-week-old baby
Yeah,
to keep up with. There's a constant loop of feeding, pooping, and going to sleep. So
I don't know how you do it. I don't know, and in fact, everybody I've spoken to, I said I got Alina on today, and they said, but hasn't she just had a baby? And I said, yeah, 3 weeks ago, and she offered to do this 2 weeks ago.
no, it's a
No,
pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
no, not at all, not at all. Yeah, so yeah, people are still coming in, so we'll just wait until, okay, it's 1 minute past now, so I think we will get started. So yeah, so welcome to the weekly work from home webinar from SEO in the Shed with myself, John Earnshaw. The title of today's webinar is Seize Opportunity by Identifying and Prioritizing Duplicate Content in SEO. So yes, I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, that is conflict, internal conflict or cannibalization, with one of my favorite SEO people, none other than the legendary Alina Ghost. And Alina, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure thing. So thanks so much for having me on. Absolute pleasure. Obviously, I'm Alina Ghost, and I am SEO manager at Amara, obviously on maternity leave currently. I've worked for big brands in the past like Tesco, Debenhams, and Carpetright, the BBC most recently as well. And actually, as you can see, SEO with Mrs. Ghost is a podcast that I host somewhat bi-weekly. Obviously, there's a bit of a lag currently, as you can understand, but I will be getting back onto that in the next couple of weeks. But essentially, I just chat to like SEO experts about what they're doing. And I'm on episode 60, so it's been going on for like 2 years.
That's amazing. I love your podcast. I think I was one of your very early guests, and
Yes.
you've done such an amazing job at keeping that up and reaching out to all of those experts as well. So awesome, awesome. So just as a quick reminder to all those who have tuned in, we've got a good number of attendees now. Alina and I will be on Slack at the end. If you want to discuss things in more detail, there is a link in the chat below. And also in the chat, if you have any questions throughout the next 30 minutes, again, just drop them into the chat and Alina and I can get to those as and when they do appear. Okay, so yeah, don't be afraid to shout out. Now, conflict. Okay, internal conflict, cannibalization. What's it worth, and is it really worth all of the time that we devote to talking about it? The first thing we're going to do is take a look at that. But Alina, how much of your time is occupied, in your day-to-day work by trying to understand and get to grips with cannibalization?
Yeah, I'd say that's really important. Not only basically, it's like the day-to-day of understanding what pages are competing with what other pages, because there's so much opportunity, and it seems like quick wins as well, where you can actually make a big difference. And as you can see, like later on in one of your slides, that actually there's a lot of opportunity as well. And when it comes to let's say legacy sites, I think that's so important to know the return on investment of these pages to actually make a big difference and persuade the company, let's say, to make those changes as well. But essentially, my team and I used to do this day in, day out, where we would identify those quick wins and make changes that we will be talking about throughout the presentation.
Awesome. And I think by the end of this, if people aren't amazed by the figures and the stuff that we show them, I'd be surprised. Everyone's going to run away and say, I've got to get to grips with this situation now. So we're going to take a look at some data to begin with. All today's insights are focused on homeware, mostly interiors. And by the way, this chart here, this data, and all the MI data that you will see throughout today's presentation is available. Don't forget, it's in the leaderboards that we gave free access to last week to the first 100 subscribers. We've had a huge take up on that. There are still some spaces left, and there is a link in the chat, whether that's below or there or there. I never remember. Now, we're looking at historic revenue potential, furniture by room. So the first step in identifying opportunity is really to drill down on the searches that are most valuable to the business. So talking of value, we looked at one business, and we were talking about this earlier in the week, Alina. I was amazed. Okay, so this is one retailer who sells furniture. Currently, that top bar there is furniture by room. Okay, now when we looked at their content and we asked the question, how much of their content is sitting on page 2 and 3 of Google right now? Okay, you know, how much? It's a huge amount, thousands of terms. Okay, it's worth £5.3 million a week in lost revenue. So taking a look further, I was staggered to discover that 95% of that is mostly caused by internal conflict, pages that are too similar. Does that kind of resonate with you? Were you surprised by that figure?
Yeah, so when I was saying about quick wins, it's not just about getting quick wins that are crappy here and there. This is showing you how much money can actually be made from that search volume if you are to increase it. And I think what's even more interesting is that you don't actually have to look at your competitors. This is something that's in your hands and something that you can be doing yourself, because this is just your website. You're not even looking at other sites.
Yeah, so true. And if you do want to look at your competitors and see how much they're missing out on, then you can jump in and look at their MI reports as well. And that's always super interesting. Okay, so let's talk about evergreen searches, and we're going to look at a couple of examples of conflicts here that could so easily be resolved. And at the end of the session today, we're going to look at an example of exactly how you do fix this, you know, reality. And we're picking on one website as an example. I just wonder if anyone from that website is tuning in. Hopefully they are. So we're looking at Amazon, positions 1 to 100 from 6th of February to 12th of April. The category is furniture by room, and the search term is sofa sale. Okay. Now, if you've got a page optimized for sofa sales, normally you don't have too much problems with that. It's normally, as we discussed, it's the sale pages that conflict with other content, not the other way around. Amazon stuck at the bottom of page 2. This is Amazon. This is one of the most authoritative sites out there, and they still can't get it right. Let's see what's going on. So turns out it's that classic glass ceiling that we so often see, that it comes about as a result of internal conflict. We've got 3 pages. In reality, we've got 2, because one of those pages, that blue one, that now 404s, with some crazy 404 page with a dog on it, linking to a page all about Amazon dogs. Have you seen that, Alina? you love dogs. I know you've got a giant dog. You need to go and have a look at that. You know,
yeah.
You may have a part-time job at Amazon. Apparently, they employ loads of dogs. It's really strange. That's a 404 page. So we've got 2 pages that really are in conflict here. Let's take a look at those 2 pages. We've got the sofa sale page on the left. We've got the conflicting page on the right. The sofa sale page can't get a look in because of this page on the right. So the one on the left is optimized, sofa sale in the title, sofa sale in the header 1. But what's wrong with it? What is rubbish? You know, it's either out of stock, it's unavailable, the products aren't there, you can't find this page, it's got 0 inbound links. Page on the right, the other hand, it's got better quality content. It's in stock. It satisfies intent. And most of all, it benefits the searcher. And we were discussing this yesterday, and you had an interesting spin on this, that Google doesn't care about theming and optimization if your content's rubbish. You agreed with that, didn't you?
Yeah, so basically, evergreen content is usually high search for terms. And usually those high search for terms aren't just about those ranking factors that we know about, so links, content, code, etc. But it's also an added, let's say, layer. There's been research to suggest that a ranking factor of conversion rate and actually people going through to other pages, actually like the less the transactional side of things more the transactional side of things on the page, and therefore that page is actually more valuable and more authoritative. So I'd say that actually it doesn't necessarily matter if you've optimized that page specifically. If you're looking for those head terms, those high search for terms that you want to rank for, then you actually have to look at CRO, so conversion rate optimization, as well on that page.
Yeah, CRO, something that we so often just ignore or forget about. This is just such a great example of common sense. And talking of which, we're going to run a quick poll now to see which would you click on, the image on the left, which is a sale page, and the image on the right, which is not the sale page, but it happens to have content that's in stock. Let's see what people, yes. Oh, ooh. So it was going one way first, so everybody was clicking. Okay, so results are in. 72% of people on the right, 28% of people are happy to go to the page on the left where 90% of the product was out of stock, but maybe there's something on there simply caught their eye. Okay, right, moving on. So here's another example. This is Argos. Always love to use Argos in my examples. The search term is oak furniture. Here we can see they're really struggling. This search term has some of the highest organic value score in the highest category, but even Argos can't get past page 5. So what's going on here? Well, again, we've got 3 competing pages. We've got the page they probably want to appear there, the oak furniture page, themed around oak furniture, but then along come 2 internal search pages. Now, from my experience, internal search pages can cause a lot of problems. But Alina, you mentioned yesterday when we were chatting that you've seen some really good examples of them working super well. Which one was that?
Yeah, so made.com actually have indexed their search pages, and I've seen them personally do really well. Hopefully that's still the case for them now. But essentially, I've also custom indexed filter pages specifically. So I know filter pages aren't exactly like search, but there are ways around and actually doing it really well if you add contextualization content and actually index them for search terms that are actually searched for. But you'll speak a bit more about what you can do there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, filters and the whole debate about exposing facets, you know, is something that we could talk about all day. Probably come back and revisit that one and maybe get you back on to talk more about that at a later stage. That'd be fascinating. So
yeah, there's lots to say.
there's tons. So what do we all need now? Now that we're locked down at home, you know, we're all working from home. Love this next clip. We need stuff to enable us to be productive and get our work done. So we need home office kit. 6 weeks ago, you'd have searched for home office. You wouldn't have seen desk, furniture, ideas. It would have all been about the home office. You know, that's what Google thinks this term is, but it shows how quickly intent changes and Google responds to that, which means we need to keep a really close eye on the landscape. Let's look at one of those terms, home office desk. You know, this is trending worldwide. So super important. So imagine, Alina, if you're a company that sells home office equipment and furniture and you sell desks, it's a no-brainer. You're going to be on page 1, aren't you? You've got to be. Yeah. You've got to get it right.
There's definitely companies that are doing really well out of the key items that people want for their house at the moment. But I thought what was interesting is that not only are you optimizing for something that's really current, but the fact that it's evergreen means that in the future you're still making a profit, let's say, out of it if you are ranking top. So it is a matter of starting now. It's not too late.
100%. It's so important. But here's made, bottom of page 2. You know, do other things so well. Great page 1 position, but there's something that everybody's looking for right now. They're stuck. Okay, here's the reason why. We've got, again, conflict. Google simply can't decide which of these pages to return, so it's returning what it wants, when it wants, completely at random. Classic internal conflict, nothing existing in the same SERP. So we've got the Home Office furniture page, so we've got a furniture subfolder here, and furniture page, office furniture, and then we've got desks. The problem is, these two don't speak to each other. We're not telling Google that this desk is actually a desk that is suitable for home office. So this is something that could be super easily rectified. We've got to make clear signals to Google, especially now, as Google, as we all know, is a semantic search engine. Now, this bit, I love this bit. We could talk all day about this. I'll try not to. And again, we were talking about this, and I think this is the first time you've seen this. Certainly the first time I've seen it. Can images conflict with content at a time when we are getting really excited about opening multiple doorways into our online worlds by being visible for classic links, for images, for video and stuff? Can there be conflict? Let's take a look. Living room inspiration. Okay, now this is an inspirational query. I think you'd agree with that. And Alina, these images, how important are they to you and your business? So these are non-paid for, these are organic images, Pinterest-esque in Google. How important are they to you?
Yeah, I bloody love this example. So in the interiors world, images are the most important things for conversion rate. Let's say when it comes to like Pinterest, it's a great traffic source as well for bloggers, like interior bloggers and interior sites as well. So obviously people love to see the product in situ, so a lot of companies have created apps where you can actually see that product in your home as well. But when it comes to imagery, it's something that not a lot of companies actually utilize. So the fact that you do mention this, and the fact that Google is actually entering more different layers of in the search results, I think is becoming more and more important, and it will do going forward.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said it much better than I could. Because you're an expert. You've seen the traffic that you can get through images. People are ignoring them. So L Decor, okay, it's a great site. It's got some great content. At least 2 of these images come from ldecor.com. These are great quality images. So L Decor is on page 1, okay, with images. Here's the chart. So this is an image that's appearing, okay. It's an important image. It's going to get the click. But you see that dip there, that dip that happened around 17th of March. Don't worry about the other dip, that's a separate issue. But that dip there, their image vanished. Okay, that beautiful image vanished. It was removed by URL B that happened to be a classic link, a piece of content. So content can take images, and it turns out images can take out content. Look at those URLs. I don't know how easy they are to see on the screen, but the pink one, the content page, was called Small Living Room Ideas. The image itself came from Best Living Room Ideas. So the key takeout here is that the conflicted page, the image comes from a separate page. So images on one page can conflict with content on the other, and vice versa. Now, I was amazed. Were you surprised at that?
Yeah, I think yes and no, in the sense that it's something that I've never seen before, but at the same time, I'm not surprised to see it, because Google did mention the fact that featured snippets no longer will you be showing up twice, so for the featured snippet and a classic link. So I'm not surprised whatsoever to see that imagery is doing the exact same thing, but I think it's a really important one to note going forward.
Yeah, definitely important to note, because if you've got a classic link on page 1 and it vanishes, everybody thinks, oh, I must have been cannibalized by another piece of content. Look closely at the images. Maybe it's one of your images from another page that's actually taken that classic link on page 1 out. So certainly for me, over the past few weeks, I've been waking up more and more to the sort of understanding that we need to really focus on those features, and that's why we put them into MI as well. So the question is, can images and can images and pages cohabit on page one? Because we always talk about, oh, you need to open as many doorways into your world. You've got to have content, you've got to have images, you've got to have video. But can they? And the simple answer is, with this brilliant example for contemporary living room ideas from El Decor, yeah, they can. If the image comes from the same page as the classic link, then you can do it. So that's almost like the answer card situation reversed. So with an answer card, okay, when you get the answer card there, the page that it comes from goes. With the image, it stays. But with another page, it goes. That's like magic, isn't it?
I think that's really awesome, and actually I'd say it's similar to Alina Solis's research that she's doing on YouTube. She's been optimizing videos specifically, and she's shown up in the search results with the same video a few times. So obviously she'd show up on YouTube, but then there's the video carousel, and then there's the transcription page as well. But as you say, it's about having that one page that's actually optimized for all of those, using like schema markup, making sure that you are using like an embed from YouTube, but with some tweaks as well, and the transcription offers content.
Awesome. And you mentioned schema there. So glad you mentioned schema, because that allows me to drop in a hint for next week's session, where I've got Jono coming on. Everybody knows Jono Olson in the SEO world, and we're going to be talking about schema, debunking some of the myths and showing you how to get it right, and how when you get it right, you get better feature positions. So our features are still safe. Okay, so what about the answer cards then? What are we seeing there? Okay, here we have the search term, how to design a living room. Okay, I love this answer card. This answer card, I tell you what, I'm going to cut out and put on my fridge, because it's an object of beauty. Look at the title. Here are 9 tips and tricks for making the living room the ultimate destination. And everybody says, oh, people don't click on answer cards. Then I see there's only 8 in the list. Fluke or magic or skill, because
you definitely want to, you definitely want to be seeing more, don't you? And I think it's very much an Izzy Smith kind of approach to answer cards, making sure that you are not losing on that click-through rate, even if you are losing out on that classic link, that you are encouraging people to click through to your pages.
Absolutely. That's how you do an answer card. That's how you do an answer card. I think it's one of those. Definitely going on the fridge. So here's that landscape in the matrix. And again, if you guys still haven't signed up for the leaderboard access, and you want to look at this, you want to apply that to yourself and your competitors, then I think there's an email going out afterwards where you can get all of those details. Okay, so here we have the landscape. We've got answer cards. They're all owned by curbed.com. Okay, Alina, you hadn't come across curbed.com?
No, I haven't actually, but I will be checking them out now.
Do check them out. Do check them out. So before January 23rd, okay, we all know what happened in that update. Curbed had the answer card, they had a classic link, and they had an image all on page 1. They were above the fold, you know, monopolizing that real estate so wonderfully. Post January 23rd, let's filter by curbed.com, and they've got the answer cards. Wonderful, that we are going to click on. They got the images, as Alina, you said, those beautiful inspirational images, satisfy intent, they get a click as well. And they've got a couple of images. So they've done a brilliant job. The only thing they could have done better, I'll jump back one slide, would maybe to get some video content too. Video content, anything you guys do?
So I was going to go back and just say about the imagery. Obviously, adding image alt tags is really important. But I think the fact that the image also does well with the page is because Google looks at the content around the image as well to get that contextualization. But in terms of video, I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. Going back to having like in situ visions of that product in your home, in someone's home, how it's styled, what it looks like is really important. But as we know, it's all about engagement as well. having a video on a page actually increases the time that the customer is on your page, and that is a really good metric for Google. Hence, you'd be ranked even higher. So not only are you showing up a few times, but actually your page is ranking even better because of it.
That's awesome. And you know, so do you think now, more than say 12 months ago, that people are taking these features seriously? They're taking the images seriously and the videos and all of that. Are people waking up, and are people actually caring about their performance for these features? Are they measuring their performance?
I think obviously it's always a mix, isn't it? A lot of people are saying how much opportunity there is for imagery when it comes to videos. Obviously, there's a whole boom of like YouTube and videos, so that's really important. But then when it comes to actually what I mentioned at the beginning, actually understanding the ROI, so the potential and the monetization of doing something and something new, I think that's really important to ensure that you've got the amount of people, like resource, and you've got the business actually backing you up to do that too.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so then we're going to get now, we could spend all day talking about this, but we're going to compress this just into a couple of minutes. Okay, the process of finding and fixing it. Okay, now the process is actually straightforward. It's not rocket science. All you need is some data. Okay, all you need is some data. First of all, you focus on your most valuable content, as we've done here and we've shown you, and you can see that in the MI reports. Focus on those quick wins. In these charts, it's that pink area. It's content that's sitting on pages 2 and 3, and then you report on those conflicts. And here I'm going to zoom in on that bottom image there. This is a conflict report. We've ranked this by search volume, so we can now start to see terms like living room ideas with 68,000, nearly 70,000, probably even bigger now. They've got conflict. They're suffering from conflict. We look at the conflict. You've seen the charts before. We've got 3 pages. We've got a living room ideas, a shop the look, and a living room furniture. 3 pages. Google can't decide. Poor old Google. You've got to make it clearer to their search engine. Here are those pages. Living room ideas, that's page A. B, shop the look. Then we got the furniture. Okay, I'm starting to lean towards I want A to position. But before we make that decision, let's look at some of the data. First thing I did was I checked the backlinks to these 3 pages. First one, my favorite page, it's got no backlinks. Okay, actually we got some questions, I think. Let me see how many. Oh, I can't even operate my mouse. Questions. Got a question here. Okay. Hi, John. There should have been. Okay, these 2. Okay. How would you approach? That's from Dines Gaspar. How would you approach answer card situations like you just showed? Okay. Might have to go into a little bit of detail. I suggest if you jump into the Slack afterwards, we can cover that because we've only got a couple of minutes left. Check the backlinks. Second one had 1,100 backlinks. We can look at those. At least 1,000 are rubbish. They're from a subdomain from a site that reviews shoes. Check the theming. Okay, history. Go back 12 months. A is the strongest, position 14th on 25th of December. Check the theming. The theming is slightly wrong because it's not living room ideas, it's living room design ideas. Who searches for that? No one, it turns out. Okay, so check the SERP. Do they position for living room design ideas? Actually, no, they don't anyway. So we're safe. We can retheme that, we can change the title, and we can support with internal links. Okay, page B has got the links. Disavow those dodgy links coming in and pass that good authority by way of A, the page that's now going to be the doorway. Google won't be confused anymore, and we're on page 1. And we've got living room ideas, and we're satisfying intent as well. So really, in the last sort of minute, to summarize, internal conflict is still huge. The potential is enormous to fix this. What better time now than to identify it and to get fixing? Fixing is easy. All you need is data. Okay. Conflict can include features. If you vanish, look for those images and get into the habit of identifying it, prioritizing it, and fixing it. And I think we're just about drawing to a close here, Alina. So, Alina, thank you so much for coming on. It's been such a pleasure having you.
Thanks so much, John. Absolute pleasure. I could talk about this all day.
I know, we should have spread this over about 3 episodes. Well, I'm going to have to get you back, I promise. Thanks to everybody else for tuning in. Alina and I will be in Slack afterwards. You know, once again, thanks for watching. See you next week where we are talking about schema with Jono. Take care. Have a great day.